Hello and welcome to Living Well with Coach Racquel. This is Racquel, as always, thanking you for being here, hoping that you are living a good life. Um, I am here. The show is Lord, I'm having one of those moments, right? let me pull myself together. My tongue is all twisted. So my name is Coach Racquel, and I am your guide to everything wellness. And this show is really about providing practical wellness tips for the everyday person. What types of things can you do just to live well? And so today we have a really good show lined up for you. As this is Black History Month, a lot of my guests this month have been entrepreneurs, have been trailblazers. And so our guest today is no different. She is going to be talking to us about some ways that we can really get involved in helping push self-determination for the Black community. And so I'm really excited to introduce her to you. But before I do, I have to thank the She Is Still Dope Network for providing this opportunity. Feel free to check them out at all social media platforms, as well as sheisstilldope.com to learn more and to see what other amazing women are doing. This organization is all about purpose-driven women and providing platforms for us to come together and not only support each other, but to empower one another. So I am a health and transformation coach, and I specialize in helping people reduce stress and anxiety. And so, for any of you who are dealing with that, feel free to go to my website and check it out at fit2wellness.com. That is FIT, the number 2, YOU wellness.com. I work with educators and other employees to make sure that their well-being is top priority, and to make sure that they're getting that self-care and those services that they need so that they can sustain the work that they do. And so today, my guest is Dr. Aisha Fields. I'm so excited for you all to talk to and meet with her. And just to give you a little bit of background, Dr. Aisha Fields is an applied optical physicist and international director of the All African Peoples Development and Empowerment Project, a nonprofit development organization established by the African People's Socialist Party. In 2000, Dr. Fields became a member of the first ever class of Bill Gates Millennium Scholars, and in 2002 was chosen as a NASA Alabama Space Grant Consortium Fellow. Dr. Fields earned her PhD in applied optical physics from Alabama A&M University in 2004, and in 2006 was awarded the prestigious Rudolph Kingslake Medal and prize from the International Society for Optical and Photonics for composing the most original paper to appear in the societal journey, Optical Engineering. So you already can see that we're in for a good treat. Although she has shown great promise as a researcher, Dr. Fields always felt her calling was elsewhere. Deeply impacted by the poverty she witnessed as a child growing up in West Philadelphia, and later as a student and young adult traveling and working throughout Africa, Europe, and the Caribbean, Dr. Fields began to realize that hers must be a life of service, dedicated to working for a better world for African people and for all of humanity. Dr. Fields has served as the International Director of AAPDEP since 2007, helping to coordinate a variety of community-based healthcare, agricultural, and educational programs in Sierra Leone, West Africa, and in Black communities throughout the US and Europe. In response to COVID-19 pandemic, AAPDEP has developed an international COVID-19 telehealth program, which offers free online appointments with AAPDEP's licensed medical professionals through its emergency response program, Project Black Unk. Despite the grave conditions of existence faced by African people around the world, Dr. Fields believes that sustainable development for African and African community community possible only through self-reliance and self-determination. With more than 15 years of teaching experience, Dr. Fields has worked extensively with African youth who have been kicked out of the colonial education system, teaching them math, science, and life skills. She is the proud mother of 3 and resides in Alabama. So without further ado, as I've said all of that, I welcome Field Show.
Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Uhuru, Sister Racquel, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. I am so excited. I've been so excited since, we talked about this way back when, to have you on the show because, even as I read your bio, and even before then, just the amazing things that you have going on. And so, I wanted to be able to share these things with the world so more people get to experience and hear all of this greatness that's going on around us, especially now that more and more people are looking to support, organizations that are really bringing forth that self-determination for the Black community, or the African community. And so one of the things that I did want to ask you as we start is, how did you even get into this, this type of work? That's amazing. Like the optics, how did you even find that,
That's a good question. I think it kind of found me actually. When I was growing up, I always loved math. I was a math person, everything but geometry. I couldn't stand geometry, but everything else I loved. I was always a math person. And when I decided to go to college, I didn't want to saddle my parents with student loan debt. We couldn't afford to just send me. And so when I decided, I wanted to be a math major, but the school that I decided to go to didn't have any more scholarships for math.
Wow.
But they said they had scholarships for computer science and they had scholarships for physics. And I had taken physics in high school and I did okay. So I said, why not? They said I could use math. It was like applied math. That's how they sold it to me. So they offered me a physics scholarship and I just decided to take the opportunity and see where it would lead me. And then one thing just led to another. I wasn't half bad at it. I wasn't crazy about it. It wasn't my passion by any means.
Yeah.
But I could do it and I could do it fairly well. So I just kind of kept putting one foot in front of the other and moving forward with it.
Yeah. And so tell us what that, like the applied optical physics, like what is that? I've never heard of that before. So I'm intrigued to hear about it.
Applied optical physics, basically, it's the study of light, but how you can use light to do things. That's the applied part. Like you could just study light, study the properties of light and understand light better. But to be an applied optical physicist means that you can use what you know about light or what you've learned about light to do something.
Yeah. And so for our young ladies, and even some that may be a little older who would be interested in something like that, what types of careers or what types of things can you do with that?
Well, that's the problem. That's why I'm not working as an applied optical physicist right now, to be honest, because there are lots and lots of opportunities, but 99.99% of them land you right into the arms of our oppressor. If I'm honest, no matter how innocent your research may seem, no matter how whatever your intention may be as a physicist, especially working in that field, no matter what your intentions may be for that technology that you help to create or that science that you help to clarify, it goes into the U.S. war machine, essentially. So that's why I'm not working in that field. I mean, for many months, not even years, I did work in an area. I worked for the military. I worked for the military, and I wasn't at all. It wasn't at all aligned with what I knew my responsibility to be as an African person. And I knew that my skills should be at the disposal of African people and not the opposite of that, not being in the hands of the enemy. So I just have to be honest and say, as much as I want to be excited, because Africa and African people, the future that we want to build is going to need Africans with these kind of skills. So in no way am I discouraging people from going into physics, applied optical physics. We're going to need all of those skills.
Yeah.
The thing is that don't peg your future on having some kind of job that you're going to use those skills with and see your own individual skills as somehow that should be pegged to that. that, yeah, if you love science, if you love physics, if you love any of the STEM fields, go into it and then join APDEP. Join the whole movement, and we can find a way to put those skills to something that's going to be a benefit to you and your community. So
Yeah.
hopefully, if anybody's watching that, they can know, because I know when I was a young person, and that was always my question. I loved math. I love science to an extent, math more so. And I knew I wanted to somehow have a career or have a life where I could do what I enjoyed, but do it to the benefit of African people. And it wasn't until I met the Uhuru movement that was at all possible.
Yeah. And so we're actually going to, get into that a little bit. But before we do, I wanted to touch a little bit on that, because it's so important that we really understand that whatever the skills are and whatever our passion is, we really do have to move into that. So often people end up in jobs, or they stay in careers, or they go into, educational institutions with one idea in mind. And then so many people are just so sad, right? They're not happy with what they're doing. And I know even for myself, right, I was hitting that wall of, okay, I know this isn't what I want to be doing, and I always encourage, especially the college level students, like, to follow your passion, as much as you can, whatever that gift is, whatever that thing is that's on the inside of you that you're wanting to do, follow it, right? And not getting so stuck in doing things that we don't want to do, or that aren't serving who we are and the truth of who we are as individuals, because it just leads to more stress, more frustration. Yes. And I used to listen to like speakers, Oprah and different people, and they would always say, like, once they followed their dream, like they couldn't believe, that they ever lived life any other way. Mm-hmm. And I would always, at the time when I was in a job that that didn't serve me, I would always look at that like, what are they talking about? Like, you do it, it's stable, because that's what we were taught growing up, right? Like, to just stick in there and, stick with the status quo. But now that I've actually been able to break away from and start to develop and pursue my passion, my God-given talents, and really utilizing them, as I'm learning more about myself and how I can even support, my community, I wouldn't trade it for the world, right? The peace of mind that I have every day, and I'm not telling people, just to go out here leaving jobs or anything like that, but I'm definitely telling you to follow your heart, right? Your dreams. Like, that's something that you were able to do, even as you found, ABDEP and the Uhuru movement.
I think what you're saying is so important. And I think it goes, I mean, when you live in a world where the bottom line is profit, when you live in a society that does everything, all of the decisions are made based on how much money it can bring, and not to everybody. I mean, it's not like how much money can we bring to society as a whole, or how much money can we, what can we do to make sure that what we're doing is helping to improve the quality of life for people. But at the end of the day, it's about, this society, this economic system, this social system is structured to bring home resources for a few at the expense of many. So when you live in a world like that, everything is for sale, and you're seeing, you're taught throughout school, and not just in school, but particularly in school, that it is your lot in life to get some skills and sell them to the highest bidder. And so that's how you wind up with people who should never be teachers. Being teachers, they have no love for children, but for whatever reason, they may want to have summers off, and they don't, those other job prospects don't seem like something that would give them that opportunity. That's how you have people who should never be doctors being doctors. They're not healers. I mean, I'm not saying all of them. I'm just saying that's how you find professions who don't have love for people, who don't want to really heal people, but who want to make money. And they see that as a way to do it. And that's how you find people who are, like you said, stuck in jobs because we saw it as the next natural step. It was the opportunity that was in front of us. We have to make a living. We're trying to sell our skills, sell our time to whoever will pay us the most. And when we really look at it for what it is, this is not how human beings should have to live. And we should all want to be a part of a process, even if right now we have to work that 9 to 5 that we hate.
Right. Yeah.
We should all want to be a part of a process that's going to end that reality for all of us so that we
Mm-hmm.
can liberate ourselves, liberate our skills, liberate our talents, identify what our talents are. How many people do you know that don't even know? Like they don't even know what they want to do. They don't even have
Yeah.
any idea of what their skills and their talents are because this society does not develop the whole person. It doesn't do
Mm-hmm.
it. It's not set up to do that. It's
Yeah.
not set up to do that. So so being a part of a movement that allows us to do that, even if we can only do it for this part of time because we got to make our living this part of time, should
Mm-hmm.
be what it is that we want to be involved in, so we can create that future where we can be our full, complete selves.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm excited to really, get into, what the Uhuru movement is and ABDEP, because I know for me, I really fell upon it. I literally was shopping with a friend of mine. She was buying a piece of furniture at the Uhuru furniture store. And I saw that they were doing a health and wellness festival. And I'm like, ooh, I'm into wellness, and it was
Yeah.
like right when I first was transitioning in my career. And I'm like, oh, I could, I want to be involved. What can I do? And it just, it blows my mind how that one little encounter has changed so much and has opened my eyes so much because, and I often say this, right, especially as a African woman, right? We often, here in America, we often get so comfortable, right? If we're not seeing, if we're not living directly in poverty, or maybe we lived in poverty when we were younger and then we kind of come up out of it, there's part of you that kind of detaches from, even though we talk about Black history and things like that, there's that part of you that detaches from the struggle that we as a people haven't really come together on a large scale to really make things different for our communities. And then having taught in the inner city, being able to then again see that directly, that, oh my gosh, there's so many of us that are left behind. And there's so many of us that are struggling, not having that hope and not having, those things and those, just a community to really come to embrace us, right? To be able to be like, you know what, it doesn't matter. Like every gift that you have can be used for a purpose. And I think that was one of the beautiful things that I felt coming into and learning more about ABDEP as well as the Uhuru movement, that, what, together we are greater, right? And that there are organizations out here that are doing the work. And people need to know about it, right? I don't know how many conversations I've had with people around like, oh, we need to do something. We need to get together, right? And it's like, they're out here doing this thing. So that was one of the really big pushes for me to make sure that you were on this call so that people know where they can come and use their skills that is really going to help impact our communities. So tell us more about, the ABDEP, the Uhuru movement, and also how you even got involved in it.
Yeah. Again, I want to thank you, Racquel, for opening up your show and making your platform available to me and to this discussion. I just really appreciate it. And so I met the Uhuru movement in 2005 at the 10th anniversary of the Million Man March.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I was looking for organization. I was actively seeking organization. I had been in a student organization in graduate school that kind of helped me to understand that organization was important. But what I was involved in college and graduate school, it didn't lend itself to doing anything in the community. I mean, it was based on students, and what we could do on the university campus. So I knew that I needed to be organized, but I didn't know where. I was going everywhere I possibly could. Anytime I heard a meeting or a conference that was about African history or any kind of organizing, or God forbid it said Black Power, I was there on the fast train, smoking, trying to find where my place could be, trying to find some direction on that path. Like I said, I went to the 10th anniversary of the Million Man March. In fact, I had helped to organize a busload, a contingent, 45 people from my city on a charter bus to go up there, thinking, okay, if I can find anywhere, it has to be there, And it wasn't on the platform, I was hoping it wasn't on the platform, unfortunately, but the party had the African People's Socialist Party, which leads the Uhuru movement, had an outreach table out there. And Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who's the leader of the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru Movement, was out there along with some other organizers. They were selling the chairman's book. In fact, I didn't meet them, but one of the brothers that I was with there met them, bought the book. He said, "Hey, I bought this book. It's called Chairman Omali Yeshitela Speaks." He said, "You know that group?" Because we were big fans of Dead Prez. I don't know if you know Dead Prez. We were big fans of Dead Prez at that time. He's like, "You know the guy that had those speeches on Dead Prez's album? That's him. Like, this is his book." And I was like, "Oh, okay, all right, you know." So not thinking I was going to find anything interesting, because up to that point I hadn't found anything at all that made sense to me. Started reading the chairman's book. I was like, wow, it just like so many things just came together for me. And the party at the time was having a plenary, which we just had a plenary just a couple weeks ago, having a plenary coming up, and they invited us to the plenary. So went down to St. Petersburg to the headquarters for the plenary, and that's when I was introduced fully to the Uhuru movement, to the leadership, the general members, the organizations, the institutions, the theory. I was like, wow, I was blown away. Everything I was looking for was there. I mean, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, how come this organization has been in existence for all this time, and I'm just now hearing about it? You know, I've been in all these organizing spaces. I've been at all these conferences. I've been going everywhere I possibly can, and I'm just now finding out about this movement. I was like totally shocked, but so happy, and it changed the whole game for me, you know. So I've been in the African People's Socialist Party and a member of the Uhuru movement since that plenary, since what was that, January 2006.
Wow. So now tell us what the African People's Socialist Party is.
So the African People's Socialist Party is the organization which leads the overall Uhuru movement. African People's Socialist Party. And Uhuru, for those who may not know, is a Swahili word which means freedom. So so the African People's Socialist Party is the leader and founder of the Uhuru movement. It's led by our chairman, Omali Yeshitela. It was founded in 1972. And the organization is a revolutionary organization, which means that we recognize that that what is required is for the whole economic and social system, the world economic and social system that exists right now, the whole, which is a capitalist economic and social system, has to be thrown out. It has to be thrown away. It has to be overturned. It was born off of stealing our great grandparents, kidnapping them from Africa, stealing the land that we are on now, and not just this land. We don't often think about it, but what is Canada? But another place that Europeans went to and stole. What is Australia? What is New Zealand? You know, what are these places? You know, that that this capitalist a social system, economic system that we live in was born off of the theft of our grandparents, enslavement of them, the theft of land and resources of the native people, the indigenous people of North America, the continued theft of the people's resources around the world, including the theft of the resources of Africa, which is the national homeland of African people. And we recognize in the African People's Socialist Party that we have to unite all African people around the world. When we say African people, I mean me, you, Africans born on the continent, Africans born in the Caribbean, wherever we may find ourselves, Europe, South America, everywhere, that we're one African nation, and that we have to be a part of an organized effort under the leadership of the masses of African people, the African working class, to get rid of this foul social system that has never produced anything but misery for the vast majority of the world's people, and that we have to replace it with a just social system, which is socialist. That we have to fight for the unity of Africa, and for Africa to have a united socialist government where all of the resources of Africa can be used to create everything that we need to live a high quality of life that not only African people, but that all people deserve. And so the African People's Socialist Party is dedicated to that mission and has developed various kinds of organizations, economic institutions, strategies to be able to win that. to be able to win African people and other people into unity with that process, and to bring it into reality.
Yeah. And it's funny because I remember when I was young, I used to, I'm like, I'm not African, I'm African American, I went through that. And I even hear some of our young people say that same thing. And during one of the festivals, Dr. Sherman O'Malley was there, and he talked about that, right? I love the way that he said it, that, just because we're no longer in Africa doesn't negate you being African, right? Like, just because you're now on a different continent, at the end of the day, you were still that, right? We still started there, and really being able to come back and to unite with that. So as you hear us, talking today, and, we're saying African as versus Black, or, some of these other languages, that's why, right? Because this idea that us being on a different continent does not make you no longer African.
Exactly. And I appreciate you for making that point, because it's a key point. I mean, the question of identity is really important, because if you don't understand who you are, then you could be batting for the wrong team. If you think you're somebody else, then you're on somebody else's team, and that other team could be the team of your enemy. So we have to be clear on who we are and who we aren't. And I think it's clear when we look at it. Like, I know the chairman, there are a couple of things that to me kind of like help make it really obvious that we're Africans. First thing is that, and chairman always says this, that how is it possible that you could get on a boat in Africa and then get off of the boat as something else? If you got on the boat as an African, then when you got off the boat, you were still an African. And the children that you had were also African. And the great grandchildren are also African. There's no magical process. There's no expiration date on your identity, on who you are, as an African person. The other thing is that, and I have to do this with my children sometimes, because children, they like to resist everything parents say sometimes. We're African, huh? But we're here in America. Yeah, we're here in America. We're Africans. Born in America, we might be Africans. Born in Jamaica, Africans. Born in Europe doesn't make you not African. And we could see that if we look at, let's say you see an Asian person, a Chinese person, let's say, for example. Let's say they're born in America. Are you going to say that person is not a Chinese person? I mean, who would say that? I mean, just be honest. Who would say, no, you're not a Chinese person, you're an American? Who would not understand the fact that that person might have been born in America, but that person is still a Chinese person, for example? You put rocks in the oven, it doesn't make them bricks.
Right.
It doesn't make them biscuits. I mean, they're rocks. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. In other words, we are who we are, and it is what it is.
Yeah. And I definitely think it's important to highlight that, because, in the party, right, so we don't want anybody to think like, oh, we're only talking about Africans. No, we're talking about all of us, who have now just been displaced in different places, no matter where we've grown up. At the end of the day, we still are united.
Yes.
So tell us, the African People's Socialist Party, there are so many little, organizations, initiatives, like so much has come from under that. So tell us more about AAPDEP, and then also, the Project Black Unk.
So, like you said, there are lots of organizations, institutions, businesses that the African People's Socialist Party has initiated in our almost 50 years now of existence. And one of those organizations is the one that I'm responsible for leading. It's called the All African Peoples Development and Empowerment Project. We were established in 2007. And we have a very specific mission. Our mission is to organize to win African people, Black people, African people around the world to turn their skills over to the Uhuru movement, turn their skills over to the African liberation movement, to the African freedom movement, to be able to build concrete programs in agriculture, in education, in healthcare, and in emergency response and preparedness. So our work is about building programs that help to improve the immediate condition of our people, that help to improve our immediate quality of life. But that's as a part of the overall strategy that the party has established to take us towards that future of self-government, self-determination. So I think we're a really important aspect of the party strategy to win freedom for African people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've done a lot of incredible work over the last 13 years. And I'm excited to see what more we can do, as more and more Africans come into this process.
Absolutely. So I know you all have done so much. So if you had to pick like one of your favorite projects that you've worked on thus far, what one would you say?
Well, I would say maybe one of my favorite projects. Ooh, that's hard. One of my favorites, I think maybe was our infant and maternal health program in Sierra Leone. At one time, we had our work in Sierra Leone, West Africa, was led by a sister who was a nurse midwife, and we knew when we first started working in Sierra Leone, organizing the party first, and then AAPDEP after in Sierra Leone, that we wanted to be able to build programs on the ground in Sierra Leone. In fact, that was the place where we first initiated our first several programs. We're not based in the United States; they were in Sierra Leone and West Africa, and so. Like I said, at one time, there was a sister who was a nurse midwife who was leading our work on the ground in Sierra Leone. And at that time, I haven't looked at the statistics lately, but I'm sure they're not much better. But at that time, this was like late 2000s, the statistics were something like 1 in 12 African women dying in childbirth in Sierra Leone, 1 in 10 children dying before the age of 1. And what we were able to do was now this sister was already a dynamic nurse midwife who had built her own kind of like clinic out of sticks and mud and roof, and was doing the best she could with basic kind of equipment. But when we organized her into AAPDEP, what we did was we had her to come to the U.S. and train under another dynamic midwife, a sister named Jenny Joseph, who, if anybody is in that birthing world, knows Jenny. She's a bad sister in her own right, has done tremendous work around making sure that women can have safe deliveries in Florida. But we had her trained. We had the sister who was leading our work trained under Jenny Joseph on some more advanced kind of techniques that she needed, dealing with some of the complications that she would sometimes see in delivery, but didn't really know how to handle. And then we toured her around the U.S., raising as much money as we possibly could. And we opened up 2 maternal health centers in Sierra Leone. And we connected with and helped to coordinate like a network of nurses, midwives, and what we call traditional birth attendants, which are like the lay midwives that work in the communities helping women to deliver, offering training, advancing the training that the sisters had, and setting up a kind of like a referral system where, let's say somebody was dealing with something that was beyond their scope, then they could have somebody else that they could connect to who had a higher level of skill. And then if that was beyond, then they could refer them to us. And if we couldn't do cesarean, so if it was cesarean was needed, then we could make sure that the sister would get to a hospital where cesarean was possible. So through that network of probably a couple hundred traditional birth attendants, nurses, midwives, and our nurse midwife leadership through our clinic, we helped to deliver more than 3,000 babies without death of a mother or child.
Awesome. That is so amazing. And, I loved hearing, that story, and just knowing, right, this is the type of work that the organization is doing, right? Not just talking about it, but really like putting, the work on the ground, boots to the ground, as they say, and, even the fact that you brought her here to train, like, so that she would have those skills that she needed to be able to take back. And then I know there was like a vocational program, and I don't know if that was tied into that same thing, but I mean, you've done so much amazing work over there with being by these opportunities, you know, for mothers and, you know, for the communities to really be able to move forward. Can you tell us a little bit about the vocational program that you had over there?
Well, we wanted to be able to help deal with the fact that many of the sisters that we were coming in contact with through our clinic didn't have skills that would allow them to start their own businesses or to have, you know, gainful employment. Not that there is much employment to be found on the continent. I mean, yeah, our resources are there, but the jobs are not being created with that. Everything is being shipped to Europe, shipped to America. So there's no real effort to make sure that people have jobs or what they need. But most people, to make a living, they have to start their own business. They have to hustle. They have to find a way to, you know, to make it happen day to day.
Yeah.
We wanted to be able to offer the sisters the ability to have access to skills that could allow them to start their own businesses. And so we started a vocational school, AAPDEP Tech, that taught hairdressing, catering, weaving, computer skills. We taught adult literacy, and we offered that to sisters in the community. It was and then through that process, we saw that another issue that the sisters were having was childcare. So we did a spin-off and established a nursery school. So many of the children who were in our nursery school, their mothers were in our vocational school.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, so that's I think part of the beauty of organization. I mean, as individuals, we can do some important things. We can do some great things even, but we can't do everything, you know. But through organization, we can do so much. And there's no way that even though we did have great leadership on the ground in Sierra Leone, we had a strong international executive committee, international leading body for APDEP, but it was the fact that we kept trying to solve the people's problems, bringing people into organization who then brought their skills, their ideas that would allow us to develop something else that could solve problems, that gave us the ability to continue to kind of expand our work on the ground.
Yeah.
And that's the model that we use. Organization is key. It's just
absolutely. Now tell us about Black Unk, and what is that, and how is it helping the community?
So the Black Unk is APDEP's emergency response and preparedness organization or program. It was established in 2014 in response to the Ebola epidemic in West Africa. And if people can remember during that time, I mean, it was really quite frightening what was happening in West Africa, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea. Trying to think, much of West Africa was just like hit by this Ebola virus, which is a very deadly virus. I mean, it takes people out quickly and very, very scary. And we didn't have the ability to intervene in terms of offering direct care, because you have to have quite advanced kind of skills and access to certain things that we didn't have access to in APDEP. So we couldn't deal with it directly. But what we decided to do was establish something called Project Black Ankh in our Sierra Leone initiative. Of course, the Ankh being the ancient African Egyptian symbol for life, which we decided to establish as our own response to the Red Cross. So the Black Ankh, and what we did was we began to organize to identify Ebola survivors in the community. We connected with 40 Ebola survivors and their families, providing them with food, water, medicine, sanitation supplies. We trained 50 everyday community people to be community health workers. We trained them in the prevention and identification of Ebola virus disease. we began working with local community entertainers to develop jingles and songs that they would take throughout the community. Um, raising up Ebola survivors as heroes. There was a lot of stigma that Ebola survivors and their families were having to confront. It was really hard for many of them to return back home because people were so frightened. So we tried to address that issue of stigma in that way. And so, yeah, that was how Project Black Ankh was born. And we decided from there that we wanted to develop it as a permanent program where we could train African medical professionals, for example, to be dispatched if there were emergencies that happened anywhere in the African world, that we could have we wouldn't have to just wait on other people to hopefully do for us what we have and what we can do for ourselves and what they won't do for us, that we can develop our own emergency response capacity, for us to also be able to train African communities on disaster preparedness, how to prepare for things like what just happened in Houston, to be able to prepare for earthquakes and tornadoes, or if there's some kind of emergency in people's communities. So we have, since the time in Sierra Leone, intervened in other situations, but it's now in the COVID-19 period that we really have dug in to make Project Black Ankh a permanent program of AAPDEP.
Yeah. So tell us more about the telehealth program.
So the telehealth program is an international COVID-19 telehealth program that we launched in July of 2020 as a part of our Project Black Ankh COVID-19 response. As soon as, even before the lockdowns in this country, and even before people were generally kind of clear that we were going to be having a problem with COVID, it wasn't going to be something that was the flu, it wasn't going to be something that was just going to blow by us. Chairman Omali Yeshitela called on the African People's Socialist Party and Uhuru movement to establish a COVID-19 People's War Commission that would be the leadership for the African nation around this question of COVID-19, recognizing that there wasn't going to be any other leadership out there specifically dealing with the question of how African people were going to get through this pandemic. So Chairman established this commission, gave me and AAPDEP the responsibility of leading it. So right away, we started developing, pulling together our medical advisory team, developing protocols for how to mitigate our risk of catching COVID-19, how to boost our immune systems, how to deal with lockdown, develop flyers, brochures, posters, took them by the thousands throughout communities throughout the United States and in South Africa with us there. And then we then went to into the mode of not just dealing with the protocols, but developing a program, which we determined to be our COVID-19 telehealth program. So we organized medical professionals, doctors, nurse practitioners, to make themselves available to have free appointments through our Project Black Ankh telehealth program for any person anywhere around the world. Right now, we're only limited by language, so we can only do English appointments for now, although we're working on the ability to expand outside of English. But right now, any person who's English speaking anywhere around the world can make a free appointment with our telehealth program by going, thank you for showing this, by going to developmentforafrica.org/telehealth and making an appointment there. You can see available appointment times. All of appointments are they are online through Zoom. And so you make your appointment. Just to give people a note that our appointments on our website are in Central Standard Time, US. So if you just make adjustments for your time zone, but the telehealth program helps to, if people have questions around how to mitigate the risk of catching COVID-19, if you're caring for themselves or a loved one and have questions, if they've already had COVID and they're having some lingering effects and they have questions, or any kind of COVID related question, can absolutely make an appointment with our telehealth program for free. We don't care what you make. If you make nothing, we're not going to ask about your insurance. We're not going to ask about any of that. You can just make a free appointment with African doctors who care, who recognize their responsibility to give back to the African community. Again, absolutely free. So we want to really call and encourage people, if you feel that you need that support, to make an appointment with our telehealth program. I think you're on mute, Racquel.
Sorry. So right now, is it specifically for COVID related questions that people can call in and ask for to get information about?
Exactly. Right now it's COVID related, although we have plans right now to expand that to non-COVID issues, and also for mental health as well. So those plans are in the works now, and hopefully we'll be able to expand it sometime this year.
Oh, awesome. Now, if somebody wanted to volunteer, right, if there's some doctors listening to this, or, maybe even nurse practitioners or people that would like to volunteer their time and services to this project, how can they get involved and how can they help out?
That would be fantastic. And I want to expand that and say, if there's anybody who has any kind of interest, whether they're a doctor or a nurse, mental health worker, you can type really fast. I mean, whatever, whatever your skills are, if you want to be a part of developing these kinds of programs, this program in particular, or helping to expand it, or programs of its kind, you can go to developmentforafrica.org/volunteer and connect with us that way. You can also go to send us an email at info@developmentforafrica.org. We can set you up with a orientation to understand what your skills are, what your interests are. You can learn more about what our volunteer opportunities look like, and we can make a match there. You can also, if you're a telephone person, just give us a call, 256-281-1344.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited, and I really thank you, for coming out to tell us all of this, and, to let people know where they can get involved and also where they can get help, because there are so many people that don't know, right, what to do. So, even if people have questions around vaccines as related to COVID-19, could they also call this number, or is there somewhere else they could go to get more information?
They sure can.
Okay. Yeah. And, I'm just excited because I know, I've been volunteering with the Uhuru movement for the festivals and things like that. And this year, I'll be working alongside with some of the telehealth program, or the mental health capacity of the program. And so I'm really excited, just getting to see some of what's going on in the background and what's getting ready to come forth. But so if those of you who are listening, if you have family, if you have friends, or anybody that that is looking to get involved and really start to mobilize and utilize your skills to help support the African community, this is where you want to go. So you can definitely, if you have COVID questions, you can reach out, as Dr. Fields said. If you're looking to volunteer, there's a place for you there as well. So, there's so much going on, and what you've just heard today is only like a small piece of the amazing things that this organization is doing for the Black community, the African community, to make sure that we have a place for us, right? And it just feels like a big warm hug where you get to go and you get to see people who look just like you, who are doing the most amazing things and making sure that we're providing that hope, that encouragement, that empowerment, so that we can keep moving forward. And so before we end out today, Dr. Fields, is there anything else that you would like to share or that you want people to know before we get off today?
Yes. Well, again, I want to thank you, Racquel, so much for the invitation to participate. And thank you so much for your contributions to our developing mental health work. I want to salute you and thank you for that. And I want to thank the brother who's running the back end. I didn't get a chance to properly introduce myself to him, but I want to thank him for that too. And I want to say that another way that people can connect and support this work is by shopping with our store. We have a economic institution. It's called Zenzele Consignment. Great. You can go to zenzeleconsignment.com to shop with us. We're located in Huntsville, Alabama, for those who might be listening or who might be in Alabama or coming through Alabama at some time. We're in Huntsville, Alabama. We're African marketplace, a Buy Black Power institution, where more than 95% of the items that we sell in our store, African clothing, jewelry, personal care products, art, books, are made by African artists and artisans from around the world who sell their items through our store. Our programs make a portion. The artists and artisans make a portion for themselves. So it's really a legitimate Black marketplace. So
Yeah.
not only will you be supporting, AAPDEP and our programs by shopping with us, but you'll be supporting, African artists and artisans from around the world as well. So really want to invite people to shop with us in Zelle Consignment. You can check us out on Facebook and on Instagram also. We go live. We do live sales. You can see a lot more of our inventory that way. We're working on our website. It's going to be updated soon with much more of what we have in store. But if you ever just want to see what's new in store, we go live on Mondays from our Facebook page at 6:30 in the evening Central Time, and Fridays around 12:30, 1 o'clock Central Standard Time. So you can always come check us out that way and help to support our efforts through our store as well.
Absolutely. So if you are looking to buy Black Power, make sure you check them out at Zelle Consignment. And then also, for those of you who are here on the East Coast side of things, the Uhuru Furniture store right there in Philadelphia, if you want to purchase, furniture to support. And I mean, they have so many other things. They have a One Africa, One Nation marketplace that they do there. Even now with COVID, they're going to be doing the health festival this year will be online. So they'll have the virtual health festival, and I'll make sure I keep, providing that information. You can also go to my website. I'll be posting that up there soon as we get more information about that. And if you want any more information, or if you want to know more about AAPDEP or any of those things, please go to the website and check it out, so you can hear more about what Dr. Fields and the team are doing to bring that self-determination back to the Black community. Thank you again, Dr. Fields. I so appreciate you taking your time, especially because I know how busy you are, but I do appreciate you coming out just to talk to us and to, give people some more information so that more of us, right, start to know about what is going on. I always say, it feels to me like it's the modern day Black Panther Party, right?
Yes.
But really just, coming together and being able to support and bring our resources together so that we are supporting one another so that we can move forward and do great things.
Yes. Thank you, my sister. Thank you for your work. And again, thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, I look forward to talking to you soon. And for those of you who are listening and again want to learn more, please be sure to go to the website to check it out. For those of you who may be looking for some support for your organization or for your team around self-care, stress management, all of those things, please check me out at fit2uwellness.com. That's www.fit2uwellness.com. I am so excited because next week I am going to be rolling out to you all a new program that I am going to be working on for educators. You don't want to miss it. So please make sure that you check me out next week at the same time, every Monday at 7. And so that you can hear my new announcement on the new work that I will be doing here on the She Is Still Dope network. Again, you can check them out at sheisstilldope.com and all social media platforms to learn more about my program, as well as some of the other amazing women who are also bringing and empowering the world. So until next time, live well and make sure that you continue to be intentional. And see you next time.